Welcome to the Nonsense Lullaby. I'm your host, Kevin. Tonight's story drifts somewhere between the backstage of a stadium and the quiet corners of a dream. It's about fame, transformation, and the unexpected power of fur. Our episode is called Tayla Swish and the Rodent Rebrand, a tale of a pop star, a squirrel, and everything in between. If you enjoy these stories, a like or a subscribe really helps the channel grow. It tells the algorithm you believe in bedtime weirdness, and so do I. This episode is narrated by Wilson. Now get comfortable, close your eyes, and let's begin.
The first sign something was off came during the second verse of Candlelight in My Chest. Tayla Swish, global pop icon, lyrical tactician, emotional earthquake in boots, briefly paused, just for a beat too long, and blinked sideways, not at the crowd, not at the camera, sideways, the kind of blink that made people shift in their seats and say things like, "Did she just glitch?" But then she smiled, tossed her hair, and said into the mic, "You're going to remember this." And she wasn't wrong. It happened at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, 2 hours into night 3 of the sold-out Burn the Diary World Tour. Every light, every note, every outfit change had been engineered to cause collective euphoria. Tayla was doing Tayla things, 13-second eye contact, transcendental bridges, an acoustic mashup that emotionally recalibrated at least 300 people. Then, during the final pre-chorus of Breakup Reincarnation Part 2, she raised her arms, spun once, and disappeared into a glitter cloud, shaped like a question mark. No smoke, no trapdoor, just gone. And in her place stood a squirrel. Not just any squirrel. This one was standing upright, dressed in a miniature version of Tayla's bejeweled bodysuit, complete with thigh-high velvet boots and a choker that said, "ERA 5 ever." The crowd froze, the lights dimmed. A low murmur rippled through the arena like a weather warning. Then the squirrel twitched her tail, gave a polite nod to the stunned lead guitarist, and launched into the chorus like she'd been rehearsing in the rafters for months. And she killed it. Pitch-perfect, crisp diction. A soulful growl on the word ghosted that made one man drop his pretzel and mutter, "She's better." The band, as if under some spell of showbiz muscle memory, kept playing. The backup dancers adjusted seamlessly, changing formation to accommodate their new 11-inch front woman. By the time the second chorus hit, Swifties in the pit were sobbing, screaming, posting, and somehow already printing squirrel-era shirts. Backstage chaos bloomed. In the production tent, Tayla's creative director stood frozen, headset dangling, mouthing, "What the f..." as a live drone feed zoomed in on the squirrel executing a flawless mic toss. In the VIP suite, a record exec spilled his rosé and muttered, "That's not even CGI, that's fur physics." Meanwhile, in Nashville, Tayla's longtime manager watched the live stream alone in a dark office. He paused it, rewound the disappearance 4 times, then reached under his desk and pulled out a manila envelope labeled "In Case of Rodent." By the end of the night, hashtags had detonated across the internet. Swish toe squirrel, a cornerer. Taylor. Swift's speculation was instantaneous and wildly unhelpful. She's been a squirrel the whole time. This is her Da Vinci Code moment. This is what happens when you play folklore backwards under a full moon. CNN ran a special segment. Tayla Swish's mysterious exit, squirrel, stunt, or rebrand. The Guardian called it the most daring commentary on fame since Bowie turned into a cloud. Vulture simply wrote, "The squirrel is hot." At SoFi Stadium, long after the crowd had finally trickled out, stunned, emotional, spiritually chafed, someone found a handwritten note next to Tayla's lemon water and a pile of acorns shaped like the number 13. "It's her time now. Be kind. Don't feed her peanut butter. Love, T." And from the rafters, unseen but very much still there, the squirrel polished her mic and whispered, "Next stop, Paris." The squirrel arrived in Paris on a Tuesday morning that smelled like espresso and delayed ambition. She exited the private jet, tail first, sunglasses perched delicately on her whiskers, wearing a tiny beret that caused two paparazzi to faint. Her passport listed her name simply as Swish. At Charles de Gaulle, fans had already gathered, holding signs that read, "We stan our acorn queen. Acoustic era, but make it rodent. Who needs Tayla when we have her?" The press, notoriously cynical, tried to stay composed. But during the impromptu tarmac press conference, when the squirrel licked a macaron mid-spin and then signed her name by scratching it into a clipboard with her claw, a BBC reporter burst into tears. She gets me," he sobbed into a croissant. Meanwhile, in the realms of PR, Tayla Swish's label, Star Trap Records, held an emergency meeting in a soundproof glass room inside their New York office. The CEO, a man made entirely of caffeine and lawsuits, paced between floating charts showing a 900% spike in squirrel-related engagement. "She's trending in 84 countries, and she hasn't even dropped a single." A junior associate cleared her throat. Technically, she dropped the acorn pile at SoFi, which was a performance piece, the CEO screamed. They debated terminology. Was it still Tayla Swish if it was a squirrel? Could they trademark a mammal? Could the squirrel go on SNL? Back in Paris, the squirrel was now rehearsing for her first European show. A surprise acoustic set at the Palais Garnier, the historic opera house that had not seen this level of emotional distress since a violinist once fainted mid-Tchaikovsky. She stood center stage, alone, spotlight, acorn mic in paw. The soundcheck technician asked politely in French, "Will you be doing your version of Shattered Stardust, Midnight Reprise?" The squirrel looked up. "Number I'll be becoming it." She then sang a 7-minute acoustic rendition of a song that didn't exist, in a key no one could identify. At one point, the chandeliers began to hum. A small bird landed on the lighting rig and fell asleep mid-flight. No one in the audience blinked for the duration of the performance. When it ended, the silence was so deep you could hear the Eiffel Tower blush. A message from Tayla, sort of. At midnight, the official Tayla Swish Instagram posted for the first time in days. The caption was short, "This is not a replacement. It's a molting. T." The Swifties went wild. Reddit exploded with theories. It's an art piece about fame erasing identity. She finally evolved into her final form, pop rodent deity. She's just hiding from taxes. The squirrel's a body double. The squirrel herself refused to comment. But she did post a selfie with the Mona Lisa, captioned, "By the time the squirrel arrived at NASA's Neutral Buoyancy Lab in Houston, no one questioned it. Not the technicians who installed the harness. Not the project manager who handed her a tiny helmet lined with crushed velvet. Not even the astronaut named Bev, who simply nodded and said, 'Yeah, this tracks.' It was, apparently, time to shoot a music video in zero gravity. The video, according to a director who hadn't blinked in 36 hours, would explore the existential loneliness of fame as a rodent. It would be rendered through modern dance, silent poetry, and a 12-foot mechanical peony. The track was simply titled Float. No chorus, no verses, just soft breathing, reverse violin, and the gentle squeak of a hamster wheel slowing to a stop. The squirrel's performance was described as feral, yet precise. She pirouetted in midair while mouthing lyrics that hadn't been written yet. At one point, she slowly unpeeled a sticker from her tail and released it into the zero-G ether. The sticker said, "I'm not replacing her. I'm expanding her." At the same time, trouble brewed on the ground, specifically backstage at Glastonbury, where an assistant mistakenly spritzed the squirrel with hazelnut shampoo instead of her usual lavender rosemary ego blend. The reaction was immediate. She bolted. She scaled the scaffolding. She squeaked in French. "C'est un outrage." Security spent 43 minutes trying to coax her down with pistachio dust and gentle affirmations. The Swifties, ever loyal, immediately began a counter-movement called Not Her Nuts. Later, the squirrel issued a brief but sharp press release, "My fur, my choice." The shampoo brand stock dropped 12% overnight. Sales of acorn oil surged. Multiple influencers claimed to have always known she was sensitive to tree nuts. Meanwhile, in Zurich, Tayla Swish, the original, the human, was spotted. Maybe. Someone reported seeing her in the reflection of a spoon at a fondue restaurant. She reportedly whispered, "It's all going according to plan," into the melted cheese and then vanished into a coat rack. A waiter tried to take her order, but only found a note that read, "Phase 3 is observation. Phase 4 is metamorphosis. Be gentle with her. She remembers everything." On day 46 of Squirrel Era, a former stylist went on record claiming the squirrel once telepathically chose between 5 handbags without blinking. Another insider insisted the squirrel hadn't slept in weeks. She simply goes still and vibrates slightly. Meanwhile, an acorn, yes, an actual sentient acorn, filed a restraining order in Portland, alleging that the squirrel had emotionally over-nurtured him. The acorn appeared on morning television. "I just needed space," he said. "She tucked me into a sock and read me a poem about stardust. It was beautiful, but aggressive." Despite everything, the scandals, the rumors, the airlessness of space, the squirrel remained focused. Her next performance would be in Tokyo, and whispers suggested she'd be arriving inside a floating crystal shaped like a mood ring. Back in the buoyancy lab, the squirrel tapped her mic. Her handler asked if she wanted to shoot another take. She looked dead into the camera and said, "No retakes. Let it float." Tokyo shimmered, not just with neon, but with something quieter, a kind of anticipation that hummed in vending machines and echoed between subway doors. By the time the crystal arrived, slowly descending into Shibuya like it had missed its train and didn't feel bad about it, the entire city was already tuned in. Inside the crystal, reclining on a chaise made of performance anxiety and crushed velvet, the squirrel meditated. She had stopped giving interviews. She had stopped giving explanations. Now she just gave presence. When the crystal touched the stage, she stepped out in silence, tail braided, wearing a jacket made entirely of metaphors. Her mic was made from a single strand of Tayla Swish's original hair. How she got it, no one knew. But the hair glowed faintly, like it remembered being on tour. The show had no opener, no visuals, just a chair, a light, and a single note. She held it for 42 seconds. The crowd didn't cheer. They breathed. And then, halfway through what appeared to be a song called Pre-Verse, it happened. A shadow moved, not on stage, not backstage, but above, floating down slowly on a parasail made from old tour posters and missed Grammy nominations, came a familiar figure, Tayla Swish, the human one, wearing an oversized hoodie and a pair of sunglasses that looked like they'd seen things. She landed softly on the edge of the stage, looked at the squirrel, and gave a small nod. Not approval, not permission, just recognition. The squirrel nodded back. No one knew what it meant. They didn't speak, they didn't hug. They just stood there side by side, watching the audience, who had by now collectively decided that they were dreaming. Tayla raised a hand. The squirrel took it. Together they walked to the mic. Tayla whispered, "I was never alone in this." The squirrel whispered, "I know. I was always just the part that didn't blink." Then Tayla turned to the crowd and said, "You've seen enough." And that was it. The lights cut. The sound dropped. The stage dissolved into quiet mist. Everyone's phones turned off at the same time. Some say they walked off stage together. Some say they merged. Some say they both vanished, leaving only a small pile of acorns arranged in the shape of a treble clef. The world moved on. Kind of. In the weeks that followed, people reported dreams of concerts they never attended, songs they couldn't find on any streaming platform, birds singing in four-part harmony at sunrise. The Swifties didn't disband, they evolved. Some became poets. Some became zoologists. One moved to the woods and opened a recording studio for forest animals. And in a quiet glade somewhere, no one can quite locate on a map, a squirrel with perfect pitch hums softly into the breeze just in case someone needs a bridge back to themselves. And far above, if you listen closely, you can almost hear Tayla Swish laughing, not gone, just elsewhere, still echoing, still humming, just out of reach.